Thank you, Councillor. And you are correct. You should, in fact, enter that public hearing should it exist with an open mind. You should not indeed indicate anything otherwise. Anyone else? Nope. So I find this an extraordinarily difficult one to do. I've had to chuckle when my colleague commented on what apparently is my new nickname, or perhaps it's not new. But I will just have a couple of comments. I did oppose this earlier, and I opposed it for two specific reasons. One, because I thought, quite frankly, that the offering at the time of the contribution to the housing reserve was woefully insufficient. I do appreciate the fact that the applicant came back and went back to the original contribution, $700,000, which is not insubstantial, although I am a bit troubled by the information shared by staff about what they believed would be the more accurate and reflective amount, which is significantly more than that. That being said, kudos where they are deserved at returning to $700,000. So that's a plus for me, for sure. I still think it's too high. I just do. I think it's too high for that particular location, and particularly in the context of what staff have reminded us that, first of all, we can't anticipate what the OCP review would necessarily say, but secondarily, if we were guessing, we would be guessing that it wasn't this high at this particular location. So that being said, that's what it is. There's a lot of risk associated with this, but again, to a certain extent, if the applicant wants to take that risk, by that I mean by suggesting that the best course of action at this moment is to move it forward to a public hearing, well, I guess that's what they want to do, and that's up to them, not up to us. I do think that, as an aside, I don't think our success in building housing should ever be used to suggest that we shouldn't keep building housing at that pace. So let's be real clear on that. I don't think that the pace that we've managed to succeed in achieving at this time in the first year is likely to continue at that pace for the next 4 years. I think that's unrealistic. And so for us to use our success as a bludgeon to curtail our active pursuit of more housing, I think is unfair. And so I will continue to reiterate that as we move forward. And all of that is to say that though I am woefully delighted at the fact that the provincial government has eliminated the opportunity for public hearings in anything other than an official community plan amendment, that is in fact the exception, that in heritage. And so if there were a time when there could be a consideration of a public hearing, it would seem to be something like this. Oftentimes we have been reminded that we have streamlined, is the word that I would use, but certainly changed the way that the public engages with us on land use. So it would seem to me that by the thinnest of hairs, and it is indeed the thinnest of hairs, the logical thing to do here would be to send this to public hearing. But I will reiterate, as some of my colleagues have said, that is no indication of what may happen at that hearing. And were I the applicant, I would suggest that they would take, should this go in that direction, a very hard look at what is coming forward at that public hearing and whether or not there needs to be some changes before it reaches that stage. You've heard very clearly, I think, from the public and from this council, and certainly members of this council, that this is a thin, thin razor's edge, and that much more could be done to make it much more likely to be considered. That being said, I think that it is reasonable to send it to public hearing, so I will be voting against this motion. But again,